This is the year you're finally going to start your SaaS business, and I am going to show you exactly how to get started. You should already be familiar with SaaS, or software as a service, because you probably use it every single day. It's the tools like Notion, Spotify, and Slack, and what they have in common is that they solve a specific problem. And as the market for these subscription-based apps continue to grow, there has never been a better time to build your own. But going from a simple idea to a real business can feel super overwhelming. You're here because you want a clear plan, not just vague advice. That's why I'm going to break it all down for you into a 6-step roadmap. I'll cover everything from doing market research and building your first product, all the way to your pricing and launch strategy. Excited? So am I. Let's dive right into step 1, which is all about finding your niche with proper market research. All these SaaS products around us didn't come from nothing, you know. They were built for a specific need. Slack, for example, was created to help a team of video game developers communicate with one another. And Notion was created as a word-based web page builder. So how do you figure out which problem you're gonna solve? This is where you take your first step, which is doing proper market research. Start by looking around you and finding pain points in your own life or work. Ask yourself, what would you outsource if you could? A truly competitive SaaS product is built from a pain point, whether that's an inefficient process or a workflow blocker. Some other good questions to ask as you start on your research are, what do you or your colleagues always complain about? Which parts of your workflow are being done manually and how can they be automated? And what tools are you using right now that only solve half of the problem, leaving you frustrated? The answers to these questions will help you with the first part of market research, which is identifying your niche. A great SaaS is specific. Take LastPass, for example. For a monthly subscription, you can trade in creds for anything from workout classes to spa or salon services. But it all started when its founder, Payal Kadakia, was trying to book a ballet class. She found herself overwhelmed with dozens of studio websites open in different tabs, trying to figure out which one was right for her. Her initial idea wasn't to build a massive wellness empire, no. It was simply to solve that one frustrating problem. She focused on making it easy to find and book a single class online first, and the rest of the business grew from there. That feeling of frustration you just identified, that is your core problem, and it's the foundation of your SaaS. Now, to make your idea even stronger, get specific about who you're solving it for. Focusing on a niche community like freelance designers or busy parents makes everything that comes next so much easier, from your marketing plan to the features you eventually build. Once you have that, it's time to look outward and research your competitors to find the gaps in what they're offering. You do this by listening to their customers. Look for what people are saying on social media comments, in Reddit threads, on software review sites like G2 and Capterra, and in their own support forums. What features are people begging for? What are their biggest complaints? These frustrations are your opportunities. This research is crucial for finding out how your solution can be different and better. And don't be afraid to get feedback on your own idea early, before you even start building. Post your concept on specific communities like indie hackers, dev.to, or relevant subreddits. Getting validation from real users at this stage is a crucial step. This entire market research stage is about using all of this information to define a core problem so you can build a better solution. Once you have that, you're ready to move on to the next step 2, which is defining your MVP. I'm not talking about your favorite sports team's most valuable player. I'm talking about a very different kind of MVP, your minimum viable product. The MVP is the simplest, most basic version of a product that can be released and still provide value towards solving your core problem. Creating an MVP provides focus, reining you in as you test your SaaS. This is not the space to get sucked into the design or start packing in all of your new features. No, this is your lab where you will test the solution and gather feedback to improve. Your MVP is there to validate market demand without investing too much of your precious time or resources. An effective MVP will accomplish 3 key objectives. It solves your core problem, it is simple to build and launch, and perhaps most importantly, it's a tool for gathering clear and actionable feedback for your first users. And that is all you're going to work on for now. For example, take Airbnb. When the app started, it was just a simple web page called Air Bed and Breakfast with no maps, reviews, or payment system. And you know what? It worked. Their simple webpage attracted their first 3 guests who paid to sleep on air mattresses right in the founder's living room. The single weekend validated their entire idea. People were willing to pay for an alternative to impersonal hotels. While Airbnb offers entire homes today, their MVP was just a shared space and an air mattress, the absolute minimum needed to solve the core problem. So how do you decide what makes the cut for your own MVP? It all starts with the user journey. Before you even think about features, you need to map out the path your user will take from the moment they sign up to the moment they solve their core problem. Once you have that journey mapped out, you can list all of those potential features that would support each step. Now, you have to be ruthless in how you prioritize this list. There are a couple of popular frameworks that can help out with this. One popular method is the Moscow method, where you categorize every potential feature as a must-have, should have, could have, or would have. This process forces you to be honest about what's truly essential for launch. Another great tool is the prioritization matrix, where you sort your ideas based on their impact versus their urgency. For your MVP, you want to focus only on the features that land in that high impact, high urgency quadrant. No matter which method you use, the goal is the same: to distill your big idea down to its most powerful core. Your MVP should only include the absolute must-have features. Everything else goes onto a future roadmap, giving you a clear path forward after you launch. Alright, with your MVP mapped out, it's time for the most crucial phase, step 3, actually building it. Traditionally, this would have been a long, drawn-out process involving multiple developers, a budget that starts creeping higher, a timeline that always seems to get longer, and it was the step where many great ideas would unfortunately just stall. But thankfully, it's 2025, and there are now much faster and more accessible ways to turn your vision into a reality. This is where a tool like Hosting Your Horizons lets you tackle what is often the most difficult part of the journey and get it done by the end of the day. It's a conversational builder. You prompt it with your vision, and the AI translate that conversation into a working application. And since powerful hosting and free domain are already included, it's a true all-in-one solution that takes you from idea to a live web app. We have dedicated videos on our channel that dive deep into mastering prompting and getting the most out of Horizons, which I will make sure to link for you in the description below the video. And as a special thanks for watching, make sure to use the coupon code HCN10 to get an extra 10% off your plan. Okay, so once you've built and tested out the MVP for yourself, it's time to start finding users. You can reach out to friends, family, or the same online communities you talk to during the market research stage, always making sure to promote your solution and ask for any feedback they can think of. There are also plenty of websites where you can post your web app and get public feedback, places like Indie Hackers that are communities built around developers and set up to help collect feedback. I'm telling you right now, feedback is something you're going to hear a lot when developing your SaaS. The feedback loop is the engine of your SaaS, as it informs you how you will move forward and evolve. Your MVP is the first stage, because you want to get all the kinks out and address any critical service gaps that keep your SaaS from working smoothly. But the feedback cycle will keep on going throughout the life of your project. Alright, let's just pause and recognize you've officially gone from a simple idea to a functioning MVP. That is a huge step. If this is clicking for you and you want some more practical guides that break down how you build and grow your online business, now would be a great time to tap that subscribe button. It's the best way to catch all that's coming next. So let's get right back into the step 4, which is developing your pricing strategy. With your MVP up and running, you need to consider a pricing strategy for your product. Because SaaS products run on a subscription model, you need to consider how your users are going to pay for your service. This decision will directly impact how you acquire new users and how your SaaS will have the resources to grow. Take some time to consider how your customers will be using the service and how will they derive value from your solution, and make sure to balance that out with your own business objectives. The most straightforward model is offering subscription tiers. This is where you have different plans, like a basic plan to attract users who are more price conscious and a pro plan with more features for powered users. This model works best when you can clearly differentiate the value at each level. A popular variation that's great for driving user adoption is the freemium model. Here, you offer a core version of your product for free, letting customers experience its value before committing. The key is to provide genuine utility in the free version while offering clear incentives to upgrade, like removing ads as Spotify does, or unlocking advanced collaboration features as Notion does. Another effective model is usage-based pricing, where customers pay only for what they actually consume. Think of an email marketing service like MailChimp, where you might pay based on the number of contacts you have. This model feels very fair to customers, but it can make your own revenue a bit less predictable from month to month. And finally, their pay-per-user pricing. This is perfect for team collaboration tools like Slack or Figma, where the price scales with the number of team members. It's a straightforward model for business to budget for, and it provides you with a predictable revenue stream that grows alongside your customers' own success. Many successful companies actually combine these models. The most important thing is you don't have to get it perfect on day one. Analyze your competitors, listen to your early users, and be ready to adapt your pricing as your product evolves. And to do that, you need customers. That brings us to step 5, and that is planning your go-to market strategy. So you have a product and pricing model. Great. Launching your app and waiting for customers to find you is like opening a store in the middle of a desert without any signs. No matter how incredible your solution is, you won't get anywhere if people don't know that it exists. This brings us to a crucial concept, your go-to market or GTM strategy. Think of it as your official roadmap for launching your product and connecting with your first customers. Your strategy starts with the ideal customer profile you already defined. Instead of trying to be everywhere at once, the key is to be intentional. Focus on 1 or 2 places where you know your ideal users already spend their time. You can use content marketing by creating valuable blog posts or videos that solve your audience's problems and naturally lead them to your SaaS. You can also try direct outreach, which works well if you can reconnect with the same people you spoke to during your initial research. Or you can do a platform launch on sites like Product Hunt or Indie Hackers to get a burst of early users and valuable feedback. It might be tempting to try all of these at once, but the best approach is to focus. Pick one strategy, do it well, and then scale up from there as you start to get traction. So, you found your problem, built your MVP, set your price, and planned your marketing. There's only one thing left to do, and that is actually launching your SaaS. It's definitely nerve-wracking to launch your very first product, I know, but if you don't launch it when it could be bad, you'll never gain enough feedback to make it good. So the goal right now is to learn and grow, and plan for the future. So what are you waiting for? Get out there and launch your product, and hey, who knows? Maybe we'll be reviewing your SaaS in one of our future videos. So, okay, now I have to ask, what's your idea for the next internet-breaking SaaS? Drop a comment down below if you've already have an idea or even an MVP. We'd love to see what you're thinking of building. And hey, if you're feeling inspired but still a little nervous about the building part, the perfect next video for you is our challenge where we built a complete web app in under an hour using Hostinger Horizons. It's the best way to see just how achievable this really is. Okay, as always, thank you so much for watching. If this guide helped you out, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more tips on starting and growing your own business. I'll see you in the next one.